Hey there guys, I'm Renee. I am the owner and artist behind Chicly Reclaimed Decor, and I'm also a member of the Paint Couture creative team. And welcome back to another tutorial. Today, I'm really excited to share with you how I upcycled this 4-ounce paint jar into these absolutely adorable, vintage-inspired drum ornaments for the Christmas season. We're going to be using Paint Couture's line of Lux Metallic Paint, including some of their newly released colors. This is a super fun and simple DIY project, great for all ages. So let's jump right in, but before we do, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Paint Couture channel so you don't miss out on any of these tutorials that the Paint Couture creative team works so hard on. Okay. So to start this project off, I'm going to take a drill bit and I am going to drill a hole into the top cap on this 4-ounce paint jar. That way later on I can add a piece of lace so I have something to hang this ornament from. After this step, I'm going to come through and I'm going to remove all the labels on my jars. And then I'm going to take some simple green cleaner. You can also soak these in like Dawn dish soap. But I'm going to take some simple green to get off the residue from that sticker. Next up, I'm going to take a piece of this lace and I'm going to cut it and then I'm going to fold it in half to create a little loop. And then I'm going to take the end of it and I'm going to thread it through the top of the little cap, and then I'm going to create a little knot just so I have something to hang this ornament from. You definitely do not have to use lace for this part. You can use whatever string you have available to you. In fact, it's probably going to be easier to thread through the hole on top. But I wanted to use lace because lace and Christmas just go hand in hand for me. Next up, I'm going to be priming this plastic to be painted using Paint Couture's Premium Plus 2-in-1 bonding and blocking primer in the color white. Remember to stir this product thoroughly before you begin, and I'm just going to simply brush this on to this plastic jar. This is going to prepare this surface to be painted by providing a nice base for the paint to grip onto. This is a really great product because it kind of opens the doors as far as creative possibilities, as far as painting glass or metal or plastic in this case. I put 2 thin coats of the primer on, and now we are going to use a couple of molds by Redesign with Prima to disguise and redesign this little jar and transform it into a little vintage inspired drum. So I'm going to be using DOS air dry clay, and I'm going to be using cornstarch as a release for my mold. Definitely don't confuse your cornstarch and your coffee. That's not good when it comes to crafting. So remember to dust your mold before you begin. I'm going to take my clay and then I'm going to roll it into a long tube, and then I'm going to go about the process of pushing it into my mold. And then I'm going to use my finger to remove any excess before flipping it over and gently kneading the back to remove this little piece of trim. And then I'm just going to follow that exact same process to cast one more of this piece of trim, so that way I have one that can go on the top and the bottom. This is not only going to provide a decorative aspect, but it's also going to help us disguise that little line right here on the top. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be gluing these in place using Titebond Quick and Thick. And like I said, I'm going to glue one here on the top, right around where that line is, and then I'm going to glue one right on the bottom. I also realize that this trim is not quite long enough to go around the entirety on this little jar. But don't worry, we're actually going to be disguising that later on by putting a couple toothpicks as, quote, little drumsticks. That'll be one of the final steps later on down the road, but here I'm going to use a piece of painter's tape to secure this top mold in place while I add the bottom one. After about 24 hours, your mold should be dry and you're ready to start painting. I'm going to be using Cardinal Red and Gold Mine, and we're also going to be using this beautiful Rub-On Transfer by Redesign with Prima. We're going to be crafting 2 of these little drums, and for the second one, we are going to be using Oyster Pearl and again, Gold Mine. For our first little drum, we are going to be using this beautiful, rich, heavily pigmented Lux Metallic color called Cardinal Red by Paint Couture Paint. This is actually one of their newest of the Lux Metallic Paint releases, and it's just in time for the holiday season. And this is just one of their several shades of red that they have. So if metallic paint is kind of your thing, be sure to check out the over 50 colors available from Paint Couture. Be sure to use a good quality brush when using this paint, and remember to use long brush strokes in the same direction. I will put a full list of the Paint Couture products that I'm using here today in this tutorial down in the description, just in case I inspire you to pick up a paintbrush and do a little creating of your very own. I'm going to follow that exact same process, and I'm going to paint this second ornament the oyster pearl color. And I did end up putting 2 coats of both the cardinal red and the oyster pearl on before I moved on to the next step. I'm going to be using Gold Mine, and I am going to be painting the bottom and the top, and then I'm going to be dry brushing this color over the decorative trim to bring that to the forefront. Next up for the trim, I'm going to take my paintbrush, and I'm not going to add any more paint to it after painting the bottom. And I'm just simply going to brush it very gently over the trim. And this is going to catch, as you can see, on all those little raised bits and bring them to the forefront. After the bottom half was painted with the Gold Mine, I set about painting the top half. And then again, I followed that exact same process to add this Gold Mine to the oyster pearl painted drum. And here is an up-close look at the 2 ornaments once I was all done. Next up, we are going to be taking this beautiful transfer by Redesign with Prima. This is part of their Golden Art Deco MIDI transfer pack. And I am going to be cutting off part of this to fit this middle half on this little drum. I did end up having to cut a little more off the bottom here just to get it to fit, but don't worry, this little piece is going to be used on the top half, so we're going to make it all work together. Once I have the placement of my transfers in mind, I am ready to start applying them. You're going to remove this top part that has the transfer on it from the white backing, and then I'm going to place my transfer where my trim starts right here on the side. Because this is a round surface, it's extremely important to burnish or rub your transfer on a section at a time. So as you can see, I only have about an inch or so of the transfer actually on my little jar, and I'm using a plastic tool to rub or burnish this transfer into place. I'm going to use this tool and rub over the entirety of the transfer portion that I have down before I gently start lifting this plastic off. As you lift off the plastic, your transfer design should be left on your item. After you have burnished and pulled off the plastic to reveal your design, you are able to lay down another section of your transfer, and then I just continued with that same process to add this to the entire middle section on this little drum ornament. Just remember to take your time with this process, and if you lift off the plastic and your transfer is coming off with it, just lay the plastic back down and again rub and burnish and then lift off the plastic again until it is staying in place. Transfers are a really fun and easy way to add an artistic element of design to any piece of upcycled or repurposed home decor. And as I said earlier, this little extra piece I am going to be adding to the top half right here. And this is what it looked like when I was all done adding the transfers to the cardinal red version. And then I'm just going to follow that exact same process to decorate the oyster pearl version of our little drum. Once you have your transfer in place, you need to seal it with a top coat to have a lasting transfer design. For the final and last step, we are going to take a couple toothpicks and I'm going to cut off the sharp pick portion, and then I'm just going to glue them onto the side where the trim doesn't quite meet up. This will disguise and also add the finishing touch onto this vintage inspired drum redesign. And just like before, I'm going to be using Tip-On Quick and Thick. You could use a hot glue gun as well. And I'm going to add a couple beads of this glue to the back before pressing it in place. I'm going to add one of the toothpicks, and then I'm just going to add the other right over top. And here is an up-close look at our 4-ounce paint jars, upcycled into these super cute vintage-inspired drum ornaments, using Paint Couture's new Lux Metallic line of paint and a little DIY creativity. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Paint Couture channel. And again, my name is Renee. I am the owner and artist behind Chicly Reclaimed Decor, and I hope I've inspired you to pick up a paintbrush and do a little creating of your very own.